Rapid document prototyping makes it very easy to track history of changes also. You can use it to explore problems, to organize knowledge. When you start out and you've got something and you want to talk about it, but you're not sure what the structure is, and it's many hands make light work, many heads in theory come out with good products. Consensus building, version tracking, basically collaboration, and any wiki is only going to be as good as its community. So you could have, if you have a wiki for a specific group, you are limiting access to that group. If you have a wiki where you open it up to the general public, then you've got a much more diverse group of people who could be saying diverse things. I have seen wikis hijacked where there was a really nice genomics wiki where a couple of weeks ago somebody went in and replaced all of the genomics content with links to pornography. And they ended up taking the wiki down, and they don't plan to put it back, and that's a loss for the rest of us. So, options there. Some examples of science and research wikis. I've got the URLs on this screen and a few examples here. BioWiki is a wiki where they collect links to and information about biological and life science and bioinformatics wikis around the world. So it's kind of a meta-wiki or a wiki-wiki. It's a wiki about wikis. So it's a great collection of links, though, and the thing is you can go in and add your own or take something out if it's got a dead link or that sort of thing. Evolving Code, I think I mentioned earlier, there's an Evolving Code blog and there's an Evolving Code wiki, and lots of research labs will do that, where they'll have a blog for one type of information and a wiki for things that are more interactive or evolving. This one, they actually lost access to their domain name for a while and were able to get it back before it was sold. But you got to keep track of those details. And let's see, the aim of this wiki is to extend it into an online genetic code community. So they're looking at building some really good detailed information about genetic code. Here's an example of a wiki from a specific research lab, the Fred Hutchison Computational Proteomics Laboratory, Proteomics Repository. And again, this one I think might be limited access to people on that research team. Lots of research labs are using it as, they might have an open part of the wiki and a closed part of the wiki, and they might actually ask people to log their data from specific dates or tasks in the closed part of the wiki, and use the front part to communicate things about the lab that they want the general public to know, or to collect resources that are free and of interest or to be shared with other people in their community. Let's see, more wikis, more science and research. Open Wetware is an effort to promote the sharing of information, wisdom, etc. If you want your lab website hosted on Open Wetware, please join us. So it's a collection of wikis for a variety of different research labs. Part of the reason I put this up as a screenshot is you see that they have the same standard interface as Wikipedia. So it's very familiar to people. It uses a lot of the same interaction, and I like their navigation and the way they've broken out the resources so clearly and graphically, making it very easy to use. Proteome Commons, you can have your cake and eat it too. I mostly put this up for humor. I thought, who would want a picture of a slice of cake for their website and go in and build one with a 3D modeling tool rather than just taking a picture of a slice of cake? I don't know. So they've got this really nice piece of cake there. You notice they're archiving posters and presentations to professional associations, and that a lot of the wikis are saying you can archive versions of your professional publications here if you have the permission to. So the wiki can be not just a way to collaboratively edit documents, but also an archive on a particular topic of relevant papers and resources and presentations and slides and, you know, all whatever you're doing. Health and clinical wikis. Flu Wiki is probably one of the best known one about avian flu, and it has it's a really interesting where what they've done is they've pulled together some of the best information. So you might have great information about avian flu that's from the World Health Organization, and something from the Centers for Disease Control, and, you know, something from the Canadian government, and something from the Malaysian government, and all these different sources that will have good information. Oh, and, you know, you've got the CDC, you've got the FDA, you've got Food and Agriculture Organization, you've got all these different organizations that all have great avian flu information. And they're scanning it all and pulling it together, tracking the data, so it becomes a one-stop shop where you go for information from anybody, and you can springboard from their central collection. This one's interesting. It was funded by the National Intelligence Council. It's called the Insight Project, and it's a public health wiki that's gathering information on data and distribution of infectious and chronic diseases in the United States. So just to kind of illustrate different things you might think of doing with a wiki. And this one's from a library. I've got two screens here. The first one's showing you that they have a range of topics, and then in each of them they've broken out just a few quick starter links. It's kind of like HealthWeb used to be, but in a smaller scale. The idea is that HealthWeb had a designated editor where somebody was responsible to go in and review all the sites and add it and link it. When you've got a wiki, you've got a team of people who can collaborate on this, and if you open it up to the public, you start to get a very dynamic interaction. The trick, of course, is making sure that who's editing, that there's some oversight to make sure that it's not getting hijacked. Neurodegeneration Research Wiki. Another example of using the technology to meet very specific and precise needs. This one's from a Center for Research on Neurodegenerative Disease. It looks like it's in the UK or Canada. I'm afraid I didn't, oh yeah, the United Kingdom. So it's overseas. And the Useful Chem blog also has a Useful Chem wiki. So that class group, that class interaction, they have a lot of really interesting resources in there. And you notice that they're having the students paper 101 drafts. They're having the students deposit copies of their term papers. They're giving them assignments to do work in this, and then they can comment or edit each other's work to fine-tune it. And closing with a quote that I found from a quotation wiki or a commentary wiki. This is a wiki that's being used as a blog. It's an increasingly small world. The boundaries are ever blurred. And he had an entry that was about science wikis. And I liked his quote that maybe it's like the difference between flicking acorns to bring down a house of cards or planting acorns to bring down a mountain. That when you're working with these collaborative tools, you're giving the information roots, and it's allowed to grow. It's not just putting a web page in ping. You've done a web page, or you've got something static. You've got something dynamic and interactive that's growing and changing and responding to the needs of the community that are working with it.